Hi, hello, and welcome, or welcome back, I suppose. Books like this are where I seek comfort. I love romance books, and I love the feeling of being a fly on the wall in people's lives. And, that's kind of a messy thing to do in people's real lives, though I do follow a remarkable amount of drama channels and things like that on YouTube because, yeah, I'm messy. But here in fiction, it's guilt free. And with books like this, yeah, there's a near guarantee I'll be crying my eyes out probably more than once, but that's all part of the fun. So when I saw this on one of my window shopping trips to Waterstones, this was an immediate library reserve. It just seemed right up my alley. So today we'll be looking at Talking at Night by Claire Daverley. Their lives cleave apart on a Tuesday night. Honestly, just a great opener. It's simple, it's to the point, and it does what it needs to do. It hooks you in and does a great job of laying the groundwork for literally the entire rest of the book. And the prologue on the whole does a great job at leaving you wanting more without feeling like it's being overly vague as a tactic to keep you around, because I've seen that in a lot of people's writing. Even good writers do this sometimes. You can tell they're going, just read on to the next bit and you'll find out, just read on to the next bit and you'll find out, but it doesn't feel like that's what's happening here. I mean, obviously it is, but it doesn't feel like it. And Daverley, I'm going to probably say Daverley and Daverley because I'm not 100% sure. And I swear I checked. Let's do that now, shall we? Let's be good. According to this, it's Daverley. So, apologies if I do say Daverley, or if that's wrong, but I'm doing my best, and names in particular are difficult because 3 people can have the name spelled, especially surnames, have it spelled exactly the same and it's all pronounced differently. So let's get back to it. Daverley has a really interesting writing style. Like, she's just got a unique way of breaking down her sentences, like structuring them. It's clear it's a stylistic choice because it is super consistent. Like, I've seen authors sparingly use this style and it doesn't work unless it's consistent, as it is here, because it often feels like writers are trying something but they don't like it, so they don't use it enough. But like, edit it out then. It's fine to try things out. Like, this is a style that I probably would try out and see if I like it in my own words, but you've got to be a bit careful with it. They are sitting beside each other, with the blaze lifting into the November darkness, part of a broken circle of sixth formers. Fingerless gloves, beer cans, distant waves beyond the pines. He doesn't know Rosie, really, despite sharing a school and some friends, but tonight they are talking. A little. And if you just hear that, it's not necessarily clear how it's broken up. There is a fat cat sniffing my feet. What do you want, pervert? What's it with my feet? Where are you? What? You can't see this because I'm going to be doing the marker thing today, but she's just circling my ankles. Are you going to sit there? Good job. But yeah, like I say, I know you're just listening to that, but I will put it on the screen as I always do with my quotes, or at least I always try and remember to do, because sometimes I do forget if it's a short one. But if you can see it, you can see how it's broken down. This is something that would not necessarily translate if you did just have the audiobook of this. I know I've got a fair few friends who only use audiobooks, or most of their reading is done with audiobooks, and stuff like this does get lost in that. And you would imagine it being broken down slightly differently if you're listening to it. Not the end of the world. You're still going to get the rhythm that it creates. And I think at least you have that. But yeah, visually, it does work really nicely. I think it's interesting. And it's also balanced out really well because, like I say, it is consistent, but it's used often enough that it is a clear stylistic choice. But it's also used just sparingly enough that it doesn't overwhelm what's actually being said. It isn't a style over substance kind of thing. Like, it all still works like in tandem with each other. Because yeah, sometimes stylistic choices, or at least I find, can be a distraction, but Daverley finds a really good balance with it. So I can't remember if I bring it up. I know I put it in my notes. I don't think I did put it in my actual script, but if it does, I'll edit it out while I'm doing it. Bestie, you cannot go. Are you tidying for me? I have a drawer with all like little bits of electronics in and stuff, and also my microphone goes in there. And obviously, I took my microphone out, left the drawer open. Zelda decided she wanted to close it. I more imagined she wanted to get in, because she loves going in drawers and boxes. It's her favourite. Isn't it, babe? Good job, rubbing her head on my mic. That's why there's always hair on it. So yeah, a particular stylistic choice of hers that I noticed and then couldn't stop noticing is that in a lot of her speech, there's this repeating pattern, and it's not bad. I just don't really like it, I'll be totally honest. It works for emphasis, and it's got that same, it's consistent enough to make it clear that it's not just like she's accidentally done it, like it's something she does. It's just not, it's something that I found that once I noticed it, I couldn't stop seeing it. And then it felt like when I was reading, especially Misery, the repetition of Stephen King, where I'm like, I find repetition as a stylistic choice kind of grating and annoying, and I know some people like it, some people don't. I'm in the don't category, and I found that took away with what I was reading, because it just felt like a pattern that I couldn't stop noticing, and I really hope it was done on purpose. But yeah, alongside that, there is another stylistic choice that wasn't particularly my favourite, and it's something that, again, I have seen multiple times, especially in like literary fiction, but very stylistic literary fiction. So your more sort of unusual stuff that's like, you could maybe try to fit it in a genre, but it doesn't quite work, so it gets put in the literary category. But it's the speech isn't marked with punctuation. I mean, I say that with literary fiction because literary fiction often goes in one of two ways, where it's like, it's the most grammatically correct thing you've ever seen in your life, or it's taking a lot of liberties with grammar, and that's not something that I have generally a problem with, like I was mentioning with the sentence structuring earlier. But it's taking liberties with grammar as a way to, well, mess with style. That's cool, it's fun, but I don't like speech not being marked, because you lose clarity in what speech, action and thought. Sure, fine, you can argue that it's intentional, that you have all that kind of mixed up. I just think it doesn't work. It makes a book actively more difficult for your reader to, well, read, and that's what punctuation's for. It exists for a reason, and I'm not saying every book has to be the most easy thing to read in the world, but a book like this is generally designed for wider audiences. This is pop fiction at the end of the day. I mean, it's got some more literary aspects, some would argue, but to me, this is pop fiction. It's romance, so you're going to be wanting to go for as wide an audience as possible. So, for example, we have The Water. How is it? Oh, she looks down into her glass. Entirely comparable. He laughs at this so quietly it could simply be breathing, and something floats up through her. And that's not necessarily the best of talking about, like, the mix-ups of stuff. Hello, Zelda. You're just wandering about. But, like, I really don't like that. Oh, she looks down into her glass, entirely comparable. Because the oh is probably speech. And it's clear that the, like, she looks down into her glass. Yeah, I mean, she's not going to be saying that. But that entirely comparable, yeah, it could be something that she says out loud. And you have to read on to find that. I don't like it. I just think, mark your fucking speech. That's what the punctuation marks are for. I don't get it. But, like, I know it looks clean on the page, and I don't know if that's why Daverley does it, but it's reasons that I've seen before, that it makes everything look nice and clean on the page, but I don't like it. I like it when books are reader friendly, especially when they have no reason not to be, like I was saying. Like, this is a book for wide audiences. Why would you not make things clear? And especially, you know, I'm not saying all books are going to be friendly towards our neurodivergent friends, my brothers and sisters and others, my siblings. But I struggled with it, and, like, I don't know if I'm dyslexic. Almost definitely, if I'm completely honest. But I just... stuff like that really grates me. Like, I can deal with stuff that messes with grammar in certain ways, but I think that if you're not doing some intentional look, let's just move on, because it sounds like I'm really grating and hating on this book, and I fucking love this book, but that in particular has really stuck with me. Hello, you are rubbing on my leg again. I should close the door when I'm filming, but I won't, because I love them too much, and Zelda's really cuddly at the minute. Let's just, yeah, let's just move on, because like I say, I love this book, I just don't love that. So, when you do go into a book like this, you do, you know, you can't fully escape tropes. I mean, that's true of any bit of fiction, but there are certain types, like, it's like if you read crime, you know the vague structure of it. It's rarely messed with. And with books like this, there are certain tropes that you are likely to find. And that's fine, as long as it's, you know, it's used well, it doesn't feel cheap, and it doesn't feel like something you're using because it doesn't feel like you're relying on it. And the most obvious trope in this book is that we have our main characters. We have Rosie and Will, and Rosie is a good girl whose focus is on work, grades when we first meet her, and as time goes on, the focus is on her, like, work rather than schoolwork, and being what's expected of her. She is she's not necessarily prim and proper, but she is good. She is what people need her to be. And alongside that, we have Will, who's a bit of a bad boy, like, and I'm using that term in terms of the trope, not in terms of, oh, fuck it, I'm leaving that in. But, you know, he's got a history with some darkness, and that only has additions to it. That darkness only has additions to it as he gets older. He has a history with substance abuse, particularly with drinking. And in my notes, I was just like, Daverley, please handle this well. I was, like, enjoying the early stages of this book so much, and I was just desperately going, please don't give me I can fix him, please. And thank God that is not what I've got. Because if you've watched basically any of my romance reviews, you'll know that that trope, the I can fix him, just, it drives me up the bloody wall. But like I say, we're safe from that here. And the trope that we are given, that, like, good girl, bad boy type thing, it is actually used well, which is the thing that you want from your tropes. You don't want them to feel like that. It's just noticeable, I think, especially early on. You know, they're not the tropes aren't an issue on their own, but when they're yelling at you, like, look at me, look at me, look at me, it becomes a worry. They should fit within the narrative, not stand out from it. And that's how Daverley uses it, and it works really well within her narrative, because a big part of this book is centered around mental health in a variety of ways, and that trope is used really well within that, because it could be a I can fix him or I can fix her, but instead with Will, he's got repeated trauma. He's got family members dying, walking out, getting sick, his best friend dying right in front of him. So yeah, he's not gonna be necessarily the most happy-go-lucky. He's gonna have to be very clearly dealing with some shit. And in Rosie's case, it's more of a slow boil of, oh hello, we've got Lily, you coming up? You can sit. You get up. Good job. In Rosie's case, it's a slow boil of the way she's raised, and on top of that, she also lost her brother right in front of her. That incident being the same thing. You know, Rosie is raised for perfection, especially by her mother, and she internalizes that so much, and that increases so bad when she has to, in her mind, become the best for the sake of her brother. Like, almost like she's trying to live her life for two people. And I will say that with Rosie, there are issues surrounding diet and food and weight and that sort of thing. So if that's the sort of thing you can't read, I understand that. And also she does deal with OCD. I think it's not written too badly. I think there are areas where it could be written better, but I'm also not an expert, so obviously that's just from my vague understanding of it. And you know, it's sort of, my understanding is better than how the media generally portrays it, but it's not at a fucking expert level, obviously. A lot of what drives this book is the idea that, and this isn't connected to her OCD, and this isn't a case of like, if you just do this, then you won't have this is more to do with the sort of just like stuff that can be helped with this. So a lot of what drives this book is the idea that while it's not cure-all, opening up about what's troubling you can do the world of good. And yeah, like I said, that's not to do with things like OCD, but it's, you know, there's a lot of bottling things up in this book and just the inevitable consequences of that. Generally, communication issues can be a really difficult thing to get into while reading, because it's just like that internal, like, you could just fucking talk to each other, why didn't you just fucking say that? Like, every given bad read book club I think I've ever read for has been, if you just fucking talk to each other, you'd be fine. And obviously I still had that here, but it felt like there's a difference between when you're reading a book that's not great and then they're not talking to each other as well, and it's just the communication thing. It's just like, where the characters are already insufferable, but because you're in with these characters, like, you actually are vying for them to do well. There's that when they're just not talking to each other, like, your problems could be solved, and it feels like cathartic to just kind of have a go at them. Because the way that Daverley uses it to build on stuff until the tension is all thick and juicy is so good. Like I said, I'm a messy bitch, I can't lie, and there's this one scene, the tension because of the state of their communication is everything to me. Because on the one hand, we have the communication of, like, if you open up, you don't have to bottle your feelings up. It can be a weight off you, you know, that, like, a problem shared is a problem halved type thing. And on the other hand, we just have, you have problems because you're not talking to each other. And so much of your life would have been different if you'd have ever just decided to sit down and go, we should talk. There's this dinner scene, and I won't go into details about why this dinner is happening, all of that, because it is quite a ways into the book. But oh my god, it's messy in such a good way. Like, have you ever been in a restaurant and the table next to you is having an argument? Not a shouting match, no, like you'll hear a couple of things here and there, and you can't help but start actively trying to listen in, because you can feel the tension and like the vibes just radiating off them. And I know how that makes me sound, but I am a proud messy bitch, and I love all of that shit. I especially love when a book is able to tap in to that particular eavesdropping feeling. It's kind of naughty, and I love it. There's just something about the way she uses stuff that I see so much, and I usually kind of dislike. Like the miscommunication stuff, but she used it so well in that scene, and it's so clear she knows what she's doing. Things like, will they, won't they, and narratives where there's a lot of they're close, they're far, they're close, they're far, be that emotionally, physically, or both. When that's on repeat, it often just gets on my wick. Even when it's not written too badly per se, where it's just kind of run of the mill. But Daverley did such a good job of making it not feel repetitive, because like I said earlier, repeating type stuff kind of just like, we've done this before, we've seen this before, it's the same thing. She makes it feel different, like the plot actually feels like it's moving forward. It doesn't just feel like the same thing happening over and over and over again, whereas I find a lot of repeating type plots like this often feel like they're stuck in one place, rather than the idea of them ebbing and flowing throughout their life. They are in different places, they're effectively different people. I think the last Bad Red Book Club I did was Icebreaker, and the argument always felt the same. The in and out of their relationship, it felt the same thing over and over and over again. And while some of their arguments remain the same here, it's clear that they're different people. It's clear that the reasons they're doing things are different. It feels like how life works, because yes, we do have to have the same arguments with some people because they can't fucking communicate, but it's clear that it's coming from different places as they get older. It's clear that they're becoming different people. It feels like a natural part of their lives, rather than a narrative device designed to keep you interested, as is so often the case. It's so clear that Daverley is such a skilled crafter with her writing. Everything is done with intention. The amount of notes that I have, which are just talking about the amount of lines, little phrases, even single words that carry so much weight and just mean so much. I love being able to see an author who's so intricate with their craft. It's like the stuff I didn't get on with, it's very clear that it isn't a technical fault. It isn't a problem with her as a writer. It's just purely, I happen to not like it. It's like, oh, the colour the colour of the cover happened to be orange, and I do like orange, but it's the same thing as me saying, oh, I'm not really a huge fan of the colour orange, but I'm still going to read the book because it's clear that it's a good book inside. You know what I mean? That's not the best way of phrasing it, but like, apart from, I would say, the speech tags, everything feels present and correct. It feels like she's done it on purpose, and it feels like it has good meaning to it. The only thing that I don't like is that I've gone, while it's not like, oh, you're a bad writer, and yeah, sure, this is also just a thing that I happen not to like I say, it's for a bigger reason than, it's just not my stylistic preference. You are writing for a mass audience. This is designed for consumption by as many, all books are designed for as many people as you can get to read it, but like, obviously some stuff is a bit more niche. It's about particular, like historical fiction is going to be about very particular areas, and you're going to have certain people reading that on the whole, especially, if you've got something about a particular royal or something like that. But with pop romance, yeah, you're gonna be wanting so many people to read that. Make it easier. But I'm still sure that I'll be back with Claire Daverley's work in the future. She is such a good author, and this is the type of thing that I would be gravitating towards whether I did reviews or not. It's just nice to find a book that you can feel how beautifully crafted it all is. It's one of those books that feels like a fresh breath of fresh air. Now, I don't know if I will... Can you get down off me, Lily? You're hurting my shoulder. I don't know if I will have another review by the end of the year. I will definitely have my wrap-up, and I think that will be it. There will be 2 videos like I did last year, the overall wrap-up, and then I will do a top 10, and I'll probably do a short-form version of my top 10 as well, because fuck it, Reels get views. YouTube Shorts are not the same. And maybe one day I'll get a TikTok if I can be arsed. But yeah, I will have a shorter book to review at the beginning of the next year, but then there may be a gap because I'm doing a Bad Rep book club, so perhaps I will try to do a bit of reading while I'm working on that once I've got the book finished, because the book itself, I tend to read Bad Rep Book Club books pretty quickly. Like, that's not usually the stuff that takes me a while. It's the scripting process. Because they're hard, like, they're generally speaking hard books to read. Now, with this next one, it's one that I don't know if I will like it or not. It's only coming under Bad Rep Book Club because the first book I read from this author was... And then, so I put the second one, I think, in Bad Rep Book Club, but I think I still broke it down in the same way. But it was actually a good book for what it was. It was a good book for what it was. And then this one, I don't know. It's not generally the sort of area in romance that I would go towards. It seems to be a sports romance, but I will persist. I will get on with it. But yeah, so last videos of the year will be my 2023 wrap-up type stuff, my favourites, all that stuff. Then you will be getting something short for the beginning of the year. My videos do seem to be getting shorter now, that I'm generally more sticking to a script, because with me doing a voiceover like this, there's far less rambling, because I'm not having to look at a camera. So I'm not, my brain is connected to my script. But yeah, I will hopefully see you soon. And I will say now, thank you for joining me in the year 2023. And I look forward to seeing you in the year 2024. And because this is coming out at this time of year, despite not being a festive video, I do hope you have a very happy Christmas and a lovely, lovely new year. So tell me about those books that tickled that little, ooh, you can feel the care put into this feeling for you, like this did with me. Because obviously that's what I want to read. I have plans. I have I have 6 library, because I got rid of a few today. Well, I didn't get rid of them, I sent them back. I got rid of a few library books today because the pile that was there was just overwhelming. Then my plan is to read through, because I have some books borrowed from friends. My plan is to read through all of those, just get all that out of the way, and then I want to actually just read from my fucking shelf. I'll be doing some more Bad Rep Book Club stuff. I mean, I have 2 that I would call Bad Rep Book Club contenders. And obviously anything else that's wank that I end up reading on here will end up going into that. But yeah, I have a bunch of plans for next year, but let's see if I can get them done. If you feel like it, you can like, subscribe, put notifications on, and all the other cringe shit I'm supposed to ask you to do in my videos. But most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful whenever you are watching this. Take good care of yourselves. Right.